only if you take care of yourself and your family. The good that comes from that emanates outwards to your neighborhood, your city, your county, your state, your nation. But the good starts in you. Don't let someone tell you that the good starts in that building over there, because it doesn't. The policies that start in that building over there lead to those tents over there. It's a laziness and a decadence that treats our neighbors living across the street there like they're animals, not like they're humans. Those are people, and they've been failed by a public policy that treats them like something else. We have to remember what we've forgotten. We have to remember that in every person, even an addict, in the throes of self-destruction, there is a spark of the eternal. We have to protect that spark. We have to nurture that spark in ourselves and our neighbors. That's the genius that creates a free society of free men and women, of free children, of free families. From that, everything else follows. From that, our schools reopen. From that, our restaurants reopen. From that, our businesses restore. But first, we have to rediscover that individual spark, that individual liberty. That's how we win. That's how all of us do better. That's how we turn back the tide of the would-be tyrants and the grubbers of elected power. And it's happening. Be of good cheer. It's happening. In the last few weeks, the current governor of Washington has yielded on a number of key fronts. He's allowed us to proceed into phase 3 of his reopening scheme. He's allowed schools to reopen, but has he really allowed any of this? No, no. He's responded to the pressure that we've put on him at the Capitol, on social media, and in 100,000 meetings like this. We have to keep the pressure on him, and he will fold unwillingly to the greater good of individual liberty. So it's working, but we need to keep fighting. And you know what it is? The fight doesn't end with phase 4. The fight doesn't end with schools open 5 days a week. The fight doesn't end at the next election. The fight goes on forever. That's what our founders knew. Protecting your individual liberty, your individual autonomy, your freedom is a battle that never ends. So be of good cheer, be a happy warrior, and realize that even when we're winning, we have to keep fighting. It is the fight that defines us. God bless you all, be well, and keep fighting.
All right, that's our representative, Jim Walsh.
That was great. Jim's so great.
Representative. Okay, so I got a really special guest here. Not that Jim Walsh is not special, but we have a survivor here of Tiananmen Square. Those of you that do not know this was a horrific event that killed over 100,000 Chinese people that were nationalists. They loved their country and they wanted their freedom. That is a picture of where we're headed when we allow government to make us think that they're allowing us to do things. Please welcome Jane Jin, Liberty Jane.
Thank you. Thank you for the host. Thank you for our speakers, our House representative, and everybody who tried to do your best to come over here to protect America freedom. I came from 1989. Tiananmen Massacre survived day in June 4th, 1989. It happened in Beijing, China. Millions of people were on Tiananmen Square just because we want to vote. And we want to have the voting rights, and the CCP, Chinese Communist Party regime, doesn't allow us even today. So, millions of people on the street was reported by the Chinese-controlled media as 200 thugs and disturb Chinese peace. This is what happened in China ever since 1949. The Chinese Communist Party regime take over. Endlessly lie, endlessly brainwash people, and in the same time, endlessly brainwash everybody and threatening people. If you disagree with the regime, they said, you will be disappeared for sure. That's why in China, mainland have no rights whatsoever. We don't have a freedom of speech, freedom of publication, no freedom of free speech, no freedom of religion choices. Of course, no gun rights, not even a knife. If you want to go buy a knife, you have to have a fingerprint first. And if you want to establish any organization, whatever name it's going to be, before you get a permit to exist, you have to swear and sign you are under the leadership of a CCP, Chinese Communist Party regime, and you support Chinese Communist Party. So that's why in China, 1989, democracy movement happened, and the CCP regime crashed that down. And also because of the same reason in Hong Kong. Hong Kong people only want one thing, to have their Hong Kong executive to be elected by the people, not appointed by Beijing regime.
Yes.
However, what happened in Hong Kong? More than 10,000 people were killed, forced to suicide, or they were already killed and then pushed down from the high-rise building, and then the regime claimed they suicided. What happened in China is not a word can describe. We are very much appreciated. Everything, this great land, the United States provided me and many others, new immigrants, to be here and enjoy our freedom. Thank God, thank America, thank you, every one of you, fighting and protect our rights and freedom. The 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln, said this government should be by the people and for the people. And this great land have election and voting rights from every one of us. We need to fairly count each one of the legal votes. This is what we want. Only through this legally fair election, our freedom and constitutional rights can be protected. I'm very honored to be here. to say we are in the front line to protect America freedom here.
Thank you.
It is because I personally know how the CCP regime is infiltrating here in the United States and our Washington state.
They've already taken over. They already have.
They do infiltration through media, through our big giant corporations doing business and earning money from China. When I was working in Shanghai Hongqiao Airport, I was 16 years old. And what happened at that time is President Nixon visited China. Guess what happened? Western world have a freedom of reporting incident report. The ABC News want to broadcast right away at the time of a president landing from the flight. So they want to install a satellite, big, huge dish there for transform this immediate news. What the live stream, okay? What the CCP regime did was, you're not allowed to setting that satellite here unless you agree and sign the agreement. You will train our people, and in the same time, we must know everything already. And also, after you use it, you must sell that to us. The infiltration and the forcible business and stealing is start that time, but it could be earlier, because during the Jinggangshan revolution fighting, there are already some English-speaking people in there, and they never left China. I worked in foreign languages press. We have some support the Chinese regime foreigners, and they do all the propaganda for the CCP regime and tell people how wonderful it is every day to the world.
Communism sucks.
Communism sucks, is a liar, and it's threatening Chinese people every day, and now they're threatening us here every day. If you want to say anything free, like that ball game player, I don't remember his name, but he said he supported Hong Kong. Then what happened to him? They demanded him to be fired, otherwise this ball game company cannot play in China, earn big bucks. And then a lot of companies backed down for money, for selling their heart, their soul, and our freedom. We shall not stand for that, we must against it. Today's the issue is America first or global first. Americans should be first. We are Americans. Is that right? What the globalism is? It's big giant corporations like Microsoft, like Twitter and Facebook and such companies alike.
Sign up to be notified of
Make a
events.
good deal with China, and then they earn big money and rip off our rights for our freedom and just freely wipe you out. Our organization Twitter account and Facebook was closed down several times because there are some infiltrators in those companies working for the CCP and tell those big companies, if you want to keep business in China, therefore you must closing down their accounts. This is what happened. This is what happening. This is still what happening now. U.S. is in the war now.
Yes.
We shall not back down. We shall keep fighting till everyone is free, and free speech, and free publication, and freely have your gun. great because we have wonderful, the best constitution in the world. We must protect this great nation, protect our constitutional rights. I, as a new immigrant here, I personally experienced how the CCP infiltrated in this country. Somebody come toward me, said, you were a journalist before, we have a job for you. You can set up a newspaper or whatever company. You don't have to worry about the money. You know, the money will be paid by the CCP. And then some others found out I was single, sent some men to my house. Jesus, I said, get out! Because I don't know you. You introduce you're a good friend of someone. I don't know you, sorry. And then they also asked, what kind of a leader you want to be? We can help. We'll help you to be elected. I can tell you, they do the same thing to our government officials. They also send spies to all different organizations. Same time. They divide our Chinese democracy and human rights organizations by sending those thugs, the Chinese spies, in both parties, both organizations, and then make you fight, internal fight. And that's what they're doing to the United States. They send spies to both parties and many different organizations because the CCP want to control and influence the United States politics. They do not only get money out of us, they also want to control us. That's what the CCP is. Because the Chinese Communist Party have a saying, we want to liberate the whole humanity. What that really is, they want to take over the whole world.
Yep, they do.
That is why we are infiltrated. In the United Kingdom, there are 17 very, very old, prestigious universities was sold to Chinese regime. If anyone told you whichever company from China is a private company, they are lying. Just look at the Hong Kong bookstore, which is selling the books and magazines and information, newspaper, etc., support democracy and human rights. The CCP regime demand the owner to provide all the purchaser's name, address, and phone number.
Oh my God.
The owner refused. So he was taken out to the mainland China. Even today, there is no sentencing.
Wow.
Then they attacked and worked on those employees. None of the employees in Hong Kong bookstore agreed to provide this kind of a private information to the CCP regime. Guess what happened? Every one of them sent to China. This is what a private company is by the mainland Chinese regime. So I would like to ask you to never trust the CCP regime.
Yeah.
To never have any hope on the CCP regime. Third, to never wish they change and work with them at all. As long as you still have the hope, you will be leading your nose to wherever they can kill you. Finally, without even using guns, you'll take over. Okay? They have an immigration flood. Went to Inner Mongolian, went to Uyghur, Xinjiang, went to Taiwan, and they have tons of CCP regime people came over here too. There are more than 75,000 underground Chinese Communist Party secret branches. Of course, they are in the United States too. And they have places for the news media, like a Chinese radio station. They tell you who to elect. They host the conference, they host the event, and they poll Chinese people. This is what you should vote. Their infiltration is so deep, so open. We shall not stand for it, okay? I would like to thank you, everybody, and thank you for protecting your rights, including my rights. We shall jointly working together, fight for our freedom, and fight against those lies, and fight against those divisions among us. Okay, we must talk to each other, regardless what party, what organization we are in, because their division and conquer is what behind it. And thank you so much. I love you, freedom fighters. Thank you. Let's have a keep fighting.
All right, that's pretty amazing, huh? Somebody who has lived through all that tyranny and has given us a view into the future if we relax like we have been. Today, our next, well, before I say that, I just want to make this point. While the CCP had said that there was only a few hundred people, rebels, at the Tiananmen Square, there was actually over 100,000 people who were smashed by tanks into the asphalt there. It took them 16 days to dispose of the bodies through coal firing plants, and then they made it into cement. If you guys don't know, their totalitarian tactics and what their end is, you better find out. This country is too precious for that kind of attack. And look what they're doing with this virus and all the mental illness. What is happening to our children? How much mental illness are we going to have to deal with our children in the future? The outcome is still not predicted. The next speaker here that we have is Melanie Gabriel, co-founder of Open School USA. Melanie is 13 years old, 8th grade student at Lake Oswego, Washington. Oh, that's cool. I was a Lake Oswego student. So she has been she's been rallying to open up schools in Oregon and Washington since last August. She wrote a letter to Governor Kate Brown of Oregon about suicide and of a sister Girl Scout. She had led several student marches and has been featured in local and national media. She aims to be the voice of Washington's children suffering as a consequence of COVID restrictions on education. Please welcome Melanie.
Hello everyone, thank you for coming out here and taking the time to listen to what everybody has to say. My name is Melanie, as you heard. I'm 13 years old and I'm in the 8th grade at Thomas Jefferson in Vancouver, Washington. I am the co-founder of Open Schools USA and I've been fighting to get schools open since August. Never in my life did I think I would have to be begging or fighting to go to school. Today marks an entire year of schools closing their doors to children. We've been forgotten and sacrificed over irrational fears of adults. Now, before I continue my speech, I would just like to tell you all that what I am going to talk about is a very sensitive topic about my own personal struggles, so expect my mom to tear up. I started fighting at Open Schools because of what it was doing to me. The isolation I was experiencing sent me into a deep depression. It took me to some really dark places. I moved from Oregon to Washington during the pandemic, so I knew no one. With schools being closed, I could not meet new friends for months. I did not get out of bed. There was no point. Nowhere to go, no one to see. I thought things would get better when I started at my new school, but they only got worse. I was staring at blank black screens all day. I thought I would at least get to see other kids. But no one turns on their cameras, so it's just more darkness for me. Things got so bad, I Googled the least painful way to kill yourself. I tried to drown myself in the bathtub. I have scars all up and down my thighs from self-harm. I'm not alone. There are millions of kids across the nation that have had these experiences this year and have harmed themselves or have attempted to take their life. There are many kids out there who are successful at taking their life. My friend T shot himself in the head in January. He had a 5% chance of survival, but he's a fighter like me. He is walking and talking and gets to come home from the hospital this month. We have a mental health crisis with our youth. This is an emergency. And you need to start treating it like one and open our schools 5 days a week full time, because that's what we need.
That's right.
Absolutely.
I have never been so disappointed by adults in my life. Adults are supposed to protect children, and the adult in charge completely failed to do this for us. Keeping our schools closed is harming so many children in ways a lot of people don't understand. Many children are starving right now because they are relying on 2 meals a day from school. Children are stuck in abusive homes, being harmed daily because of school shutdowns. Teachers are mandatory reporters for majority of reports of abuse at Child Protective Services. Come from reports to Child Protective Services have drastically dropped this year. You cannot see these things from behind a screen. Keeping our schools closed is neglectful, by definition, child abuse. I want Governor Inslee to hear that. He is playing a role in neglect and abuse of children. He shut the doors to our schools, and he has the power to open them for 5 full days. Governor Inslee, to be a hero for once and fight for us. Fight to change the 6 feet distance restriction to 3 feet and mandate all schools open 5 days a week full time. I will not settle for hybrid. That's not real school.
Nope.
I will fight until all children across the nation are in school full time 5 days a week. Our lives and childhoods have been stolen from us, and today I make a stand to take them back. Thank you to the parents and the community members who have supported me in my fight and joined forces with me to rightfully take back what is ours. Thank you.
Okay. Out of the mouth of babes, right? So that's so true. You know, I heard a story not too long ago about a child in a classroom, a Zoom classroom, with other students, and he shot himself in the head with his dad's pistol. How could you not have a heart for that? That's what these people have done to our country. They've done the worst to our children. And it'd be better for them to have a millstone around their neck.
Right. We're gonna put it there too.
Our next guest is Dr. Churchill, grandson of Winston Churchill. He's an angel investor, a startup innovation master, and he is also a CEO of a house of tech startup, digital currency, ICOs, titled the American Angels. Dr. Churchill is now a public speaker, a leader in the Lincoln Party, not the project. That was a thing to derail him, so I just want to put that out there. And independent candidate for the U.S. Senate in 2017. On behalf of Washington State, hoping to be sent to the other Washington in order to accomplish a rather important job in Washington, D.C. The job of allowing the unfettered tech businesses, innovation, and the democratization of early stage startup to blossom and thus create many millions of new jobs, along with massive wealth and prosperity for our nation. Dr. Churchill is the chairman of the independent third party, the Lincoln Party, and he is also the president of Educational International Affairs think tank and a benevolent society, the Churchill Society. Please welcome Dr. Pano Kroko Churchill.
takes up my spot.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you for being here. As you noticed, we couldn't go anywhere without bagpipes, giving a steel into our heart and putting some steel into our spine, some courage that we all deserve. As you're all so courageous to be out here with me, and recall that there are better days ahead. I know we have suffered. I know we have been beaten. I know we have been kept down. However, there are better days ahead. And I'm here to give the good news, the news that need to cheer your heart, and to recall that as citizens, we are not subject to any other authority except our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, and our Declaration of Independence. So, without further ado, I will simply speak on a short speech out of my prepared remarks. Don't be scared. I shall not follow the letter. I shall just go through and help you to understand that we're here together, and the facts with which I shall deal this afternoon are mainly old and familiar. Yet there is something new and innovative in the general use of the facts. And this is what joins us together, because although there is novelty to the idea that none of us is any longer considered a slave or a subject to a king, to any tyrannical authority or any other institution, as citizens we ought to recall that we are subjects to the Declaration of Independence. I make a clear distinction between the Declaration and the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, because whereas the one is not a legal document, and I speak of the Declaration of Independence, it is actually the most important document that allowed us to become who we are. Citizens as opposed to subjects. It's a monumental difference. I am proud to call myself the American Churchill, only why I am a citizen and not subject to any queen or worse. So, as I see all of you understanding the important difference, we ought together to invest in a further understanding for the reason why we live here, and if need be, we die here to defend those ancient rights. And those rights are to enjoy liberty and the pursuit of happiness. As I hear you, you have asked me many times before to represent you, and I heed your call. Yet, every time when we are together, we have been attacked and viciously maligned by our enemies of freedom. So shall we come together again this time and rise up, as we need to protect each other, to protect our rights, and to defend the Republic for which many others before us have shed their blood. The reason for me standing in front of you is to wake up this ancient feeling, the feeling that made people seek liberty at the cost of death. As you know, famous people before us, they went to battle with a flag that said, "Give me liberty or give me death," and they meant it. We do not need to make such important sacrifice today. The only thing is enough to cast your vote, and cast your vote for a person that you think will represent this ancient principle, nothing less. And how do you distinguish between the people who are worthy of your vote or not? Is by simple conversation, in a civilized discourse, with loving kindness that will allow you to recognize those who want to keep us united versus ones who want to divide you so they can rule above you. It has been said by great ancient peoples, that those who do not expose themselves to the electioneering, to the democratic elections, and to the vagaries of public office, they are led by people far inferior to themselves. So should we not be led by inferior people who have no track, no belief, and certainly no hesitation to take away your liberties, you ought to expose yourselves to the politics by involving yourselves in the school board, in any other elected position that will elevate you to the point of a leader within our communities. And this is why I was called here to speak, because I am unafraid to include myself in the voting rolls and to stand up and accept your vote at times when you ask me to represent you. It just so happens that in my family, in my blood, in my DNA, we have a little bit of that political thing running. You might have heard. It's some kind of a virus that cannot be defeated by inoculation against it. We are called to serve, and service is what we give. But they only calls us to come, you know, when the things are difficult, and oftentimes when things are unsufferable. And then they say, okay, let's draft a Churchill now to see if he can take the chestnuts out of the fire, because the fire is too hot. Then we take it, you know, often foolishly, often with candor, and sometimes even with the necessity speaking upon us that if we don't do it, nobody else wants that awful job. And it is a bitter pill sometimes. You probably know my grandfather, they tried to assassinate him 61 times. Not all of them from effing Adolf Hitler and the Nazis. There were some local crazy yahoos from England, they tried to kill him too. We have to be aware that there is a cost to public service, especially when you do something good and you earn the enmity of those powerful people and the sinister folks who seek to dominate you and to deprive you of your basic liberties. Now, thank God we are not facing, you know, the hordes of Adolf Hitler wanting to drive us into 1,000 years of misery, darkness, and depression. But I think we were driven just, if I recall, until today into a depression lasting 365 days, and maybe a bit more or a bit less. And I think now we are coming out of it and shaking our head and saying, what was that all about? Because, as you all know, it seems that we've been punked. I think my good Scottish friends here, they will tell you you've been punked. And it's time to wake up. That's why, you know, with the benefit of the bagpipes that are so giving a heart to all of us, we can say that no more. We've woken up. Springtime is upon us. And let this be not the Ides of March, where awful things happen, but let it be the springtime, you know, into which you all rise up. I hear this is a common expression here, rise up, like the old folks. They've risen and they had a revolution by declaring their independence from Mother England. And all good things came to all of us. But we should not forget the tradition. And what England had given us, it was the basic natural rights as understood in the philosophy of Europe. Whether it was John Locke or whether it was any other person who actually spoke within the ancient Parliament of London, the Westminster, the Hall of the Commons. That's been the most vibrant democracy for the last 1,000 years. And yet, a democracy that is still curtailed by the power of a sovereign king or queen. And on this side of the water, on this side of the pond, we decided to be free of that and unfettered and become the kind of people that are led by a government of the people, by the people, and from the people.
Amen.
A government that shall not perish from this earth as long as you can keep it. And why would you not want to keep such a government here alive and blossoming, since it's the best system of self-governance the world has ever known? And look at what beautiful people it has produced. Just look around you and say thank you to the person standing next to you, because I extend my thanks and I say a fist bump and maybe a hug if you are not afraid, and tell them that solidly standing together is all we expect from each other. Nothing more is required. Just stand with me as I stand with you, and together we are going to carry this sunny day into the future, because without that, we've got nothing.
That's right.
The separation that has been dictated upon us, the division, the hate against each other, the looming civil war that's being advertised in all means and all places where the easily susceptible fall prey to, is exactly the evil that we need to observe against. Some great people, they said, you know, I know not who causes tears to my country, but I know how to repair the fabric of my nation. And I think I'm one of those old school folks who aren't afraid to say, I know how to repair the fabric of our nation, torn as it may be. This is what we all ought to do, this is what we need to engage in doing, and more or less, this is what we are required of doing now and forever. You see, my words go to the wind. So, as I am speaking to you, impromptu, no notes taken away, I have to say that I am proud to be amongst you. I am proud to be one of you, and above all else, I'm the American Churchill, and that means a lot. My grandfather, all his life, he was a subject to a king and queen. In his long life in Parliament, more than 50 years, he was a great force. He delivered liberty for the whole Western world. I think the fact that we do not speak German today in this very country is due to my grandfather's, Winston Churchill's, courage. Courage, and courage alone was what helped him achieve this liberty. When everything was lost, when everything seemed improbably dark, and in the midst of the most difficult time the free nations of the world have faced, he stood up as one man alone for the first 2 years of the war, and then enjoying the friendship of the government of these United States, FDR and the people, and enjoying the friendship also of Stalin, Marshal Stalin on the other side, and enjoying the friendship of all the free nations who had signed up as allies. The ANZAC forces, Australia, New Zealand, the Commonwealth of India and other 68 nations. We should not forget that none of us is alone in this great struggle against darkness. We always have allies that we might not be able to identify, but we are able to rely upon. I admit I don't know half your names. The people I have met, there are few and varied in between in this vast crowd. But I do know that the ones whom I do not know, they respect me as I respect them. And they are going to reach out to me as I reach out to you today and say, E pluribus unum. This is my only shield of protection. I'm not wearing a bulletproof vest, although I have been assassinated twice. Well, small beginnings until I get to 61 times like my grandfather. I've got ways to go. But I'm here because I feel your protection is far greater than mine. Anything you have to offer me is accepted. So I thrive being amongst you. And I know that victory will grace all of our efforts and all of our endeavors, because this enterprise of mine is not new. This enterprise of mine has started a long time ago, back in the 1700s, when people rose up and they said, I declare my independence. And that was the most powerful thing that the world had ever heard, because there is nothing so powerful as an idea whose time has come. And declaring our independence today from fear is what we ought to do. Should we be asked upon the world? Should we ask to be of service? And should we be asked to serve? I believe our time has come. No more division. Kindness, love, and the enthusiasm of unity is what will allow us to succeed and keep our republic, as many generations before us they have. Because people ask me, how come you expect this country that has fallen so low to be resurrected again and thrive? I say, well, Give me a moment to think. It sounds like a very difficult question now, huh? Listen to me. If I have been able to resurrect myself from the last assassination attempt against me that left me broken in the head requiring brain surgery because I dared to give a speech like this inside the Microsoft headquarters in Haiti just a month after the 45th president was elected, a person who supported with 7.5 million votes of independence because you had seen the corruption. We've seen what they did to our friend Bernie Sanders, who had won the primaries of the Democratic Party, and then we just kicked him off to the curb. Shame. So we took out the other guy, and he seemed to be at least honorable to do the one thing we agreed upon. No more foreign wars. We have enough things to do in our country to fix it up. We don't want to take our people, in the freaking deserts, Thailand, Afghanistan, or Syria, Iraq, where the people have been killing each other for millennia without rancor, without principle, and ultimately without any particular cause. They're just loco in the head, they can't stand each other. And let's learn from that, because that's what they're trying to do to us, to get us into a division that you cannot stand each other. You can't be in the same elevator, with another person, let alone if the person is from the other party. And both parties are complicit in this evil work. Both of them, it's not one. It's both of them. It takes two to tango. They are the same faces of the same coin on either side, because that's how they can control the true citizens and deprive you of the rights that you have been feasted upon through the natural rights, through the godly free will, and certainly through the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, and the Constitution. Yes. I know I'm not telling you anything new that you don't know, especially with my funny accent. You probably want me to speak in French to you. And I use French, but only for romantic purposes and for diplomacy across the world, but not here. I can do a pretty mean Texas accent if you want me to, just like John Wayne, Put them up, Dukes, and let's go fight. Fight is what we need to do, but not in the sense of John Wayne in the movies. We don't want to have a bar brawl, but we're going to have a very educated, scientific effort at winning elections across the board. It does not matter the size of the office you seek, but it matters that you earn the right of citizen, which is ultimately to be responsible for the affairs of our country. And I want to be responsible to you, first of all, because you are fellow citizens, but most importantly, to the old creed, E pluribus unum. Out of many, we become one. And why did the founders, these 39 men who signed on the Declaration of Independence, unafraid of hanging? Because at that time, anybody who signed that document was an enemy to the prevailing power. And yet they did. And they went on to fight. And before long, they had earned their independence. This is again what I'm fighting for, because I happen to believe, unusual as it might seem to most of you, that the revolution has not stopped. The revolution has not died. The revolution is ongoing. And it is you, and me, and several other people, well beyond the pale of this particular moment, that they are unafraid to say, we must carry on the struggle. We cannot allow darkness to come over us for long. And the struggle that I'm engaged in is the political struggle of democracy, hoping to be amongst those who truly believe government by the people, government for the people, and government from the people shall never perish from this earth, at least if we can help it. So this is what I demand of you as well. Stand with me as I stand with you, because this particular old axiom of having the best form of governance in the world, which is democracy at the self-governing level, it is exactly what we seek to have if we are to survive as a nation. Because at the end of the day, regardless of divisions, regardless of these desperate attempts to cause us to harm each other, I do not believe for a moment that we are going to descend into a bloody civil war another time, having had the example of the last one, having remembered the bloodshed, the loss, and the destruction that caused. And these are the people from the outside who cause the tears in the fabric of our country. And I aim to repair that with your help. You be the hands, that hold the needle and the fabric and you sew it together. And that's what we need to do. Almost like needlepoint, that's all it takes. And it's easy enough that all of us can do it without very much effort. And you ask me, what do you speak of nation? You kind of look and sound almost foreign. Some people ask me, where have you been born? I have to tell them near the University of Western, my alma mater, and they say, I don't believe. I say, okay, try me. Ha ha ha. Does any of you, think that this nation is made up of what? Of imported plastic tchotchkes at Walmart? What is this nation made of? Of houses and buildings and this nice grass? No. What is the nation? What is the idea of a nation? The very definition of a nation, in my mind, is this continuation of principle of our existence with the things that we hold sacred, from the people who are long gone to the people that are yet to be born. Your children, my children, and their children. This is what this nation is all about. This unbroken line of principled individuals willing to lay it all on the line for what you believe to be true, the Declaration of Independence. How could I be anything else but an independent? I've been courted by those both political parties whom I consider evildoers many, many times. Come with us. Come with us. Whether it's the left or the right, the red or the blue or whatever other color, because they always want to control this, telling you that you could never be elected unless you fly under their own flag. And this is the basis of corruption and division. But I have friends here who always will tell you that should you choose to be an independent, you will win, because last I heard, maybe just as late as yesterday, 75%, 3/4 of all the people here, they are so tired and they want to be independent forever. Because this document that I referenced, the Declaration of Independence, it was actually the founding document of our country. The Constitution came later in order to legalize the framework of what we consider the government. However, it was the Declaration of Independence that allowed people to rise up. And I connect the two. There would be no rise up, there would be no revolution without the Declaration of Independence. Signed up by 39 people who were unafraid to give up their lives for the very cause of independence. So, how could I be anything else but an independent? In our politics, in our belief, in our government structures, and most important, in our lives. Benjamin Franklin famously said that who wants political parties when I can live in the paradise of independence? Washington, Jefferson, Adams, Madison, they all decried the rise of partisanship as to be the death knell of the Republic. You remember that? And does anybody remember Abraham Lincoln saying clearly, do not allow partisanship to destroy us? And he created a cabinet of rivals, people who came from different political parties, because he himself was an independent at the time. It was a new party he founded between the Whigs and the Southern Democrats. And by the grace of God, they split the main parties and they succeeded in gaining the leadership and preserving our country through the difficult times of the Civil War. Yeah. So I call upon you to do exactly what old Abe, my intellectual mentor, if you will, and call to your others, those others who are not in the same stripe uniform as you might be, and invite them to a civilized discourse, to a dialogue, and giving them loving kindness, allow both of you to become independent. Because independence is a state of mind more than anything else. To be independent of fear is what I hope and I ask of all of you today. And once you take that baptism of fire, you will be a true independent for the rest of your life and for the rest of the generations to come, as this nation was founded upon. Amen. I call on you for independence of spirit, independence of your heart, and the independence of your belief, to rise up with me and with each other, and to say thank you and God bless you all, and keep in mind that together we can have a great country, and you can do well together in this country. However, if separated, if divided, if conquered, we will die as slaves, and that I shall not allow. God bless you all. Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Churchill, and a lot of you want to convince me to run for the United States Senate on behalf of our particular state. Would you want me to? Tell me. Yes. Yes. You want me to run, represent you as an independent? Will you stand with me? We go together. We go to the other Washington to just be there as independent witnesses and to effect change. Will you stand with me? Will you come with me? I promise you, all together we can fit in a big bus and we'll get there. Well, I hear you, and I say God bless you. I shall follow your advice, and I will have the piper, lead us on a goodbye and a solemn prayer.
Run, Churchill, run!
Thank you.
Run, run, run! Run, Churchill, run! Run, run, run! Run, Churchill, run! Run, run, run! Churchill, run! Run, run, run!
God bless. Thank you.
Okay, one more round of applause for Dr. Churchill, please. So we are riseupwa.org, and we champion causes, not personalities, and not other entities, not special interests. You, me, that's our interest. With that said, I'm going to give it to Michelle Darnell again to close up.
Okay.
Thank you so much. So did you all have a good time today? Yeah. Do you feel inspired? Yeah. Oh, that wasn't loud enough. That was pretty darn weak. Do you feel inspired? Yeah. Are you going to rise up? Yeah. Rise up! Rise up! Rise up! Rise up! Okay, so that's what we're all about here today. I hope these the speakers today, our lineup, has inspired you to go home to your community and find out what you can do in your community. That might be volunteering. It might be volunteering for a candidate running for office in 2021. And let me tell you, a lot of times voters and the general public doesn't pay much attention to campaigns until every 4 years. We have a presidential election. I happen to believe that 80% of your attention, your political time, your political resources, your political attention, 80% should be focused on your local community and your state. 20%, you can go ahead and have your cake and ice cream and cotton candy. That's the federal stuff. We have got to build a bench here in Washington State at the local level if we ever hope to change things in D.C. So that starts in 2021. As I mentioned before, King County has 314 open seats, everything from, park board all the way up to city council, school board, so on and so forth. Our organization, Ignite Foundation LLC, we provide campaign for, we recruit, I'm tired. We recruit, we train, we provide resources, and we equip candidates. Rise Up Washington is for our activists. We recruit, train, and provide support services for our activists. Marlisa, did I lose you? I wanted to make mention of some of the stuff that we offer. You can go to our website, ignitefoundationllc.com or riseupwa.org. And what can we find on the website?
For anybody who's interested in running for office or interested in politics and the dates of things when initiatives come out and all that, we've designed a really awesome calendar here that's got all the political dates for everything. Special elections, filing dates, initiative dates, when they have to be in, or primaries, special elections, all that stuff for anything and all of it in the state. And
What does it have on top?
Inspirational quotes at the top, and it's an invaluable tool. I ran for office last year in 2020 for state legislature. I didn't win, but a tool like this would have been amazing, because we didn't know, when did the military ballots drop? You need to know those kinds of things, and they don't give you that information. So, $16 for a beautiful calendar. That's an amazing tool, and I hope that a number of you, we got some people on contact list today. We'll be reaching out and encouraging anybody who feels that they've got the gumption to do so. Run for office, run for school board, run for a sewer district, run for water district. All those positions are really important. So, we also have to raise funds and get the word out about Rise and Ignite. We have some awesome t-shirts, $22 a piece, that helps to support the organizations, and which will in turn help to support candidates. We have inspirational quotes on them, and I think they're pretty awesome. Can you read that one, Michelle?
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. Ronald Reagan. Another reason we offer shirts, calendars, that sort of thing is because we need to change the conversation in this country right now. We need to change it from the partisan rhetoric to actual, quotes of inspiration, solutions-oriented conversation. So that's one of the things that we're trying to do. We're trying to change the conversation and take it in a different direction. Anything else, Marlisa?
I thought you had to talk about that.
Well, I think I already mentioned that. Just to summarize, we provide campaign support services. You can go to our website to find out. I have run personally, myself, as a third-party candidate twice. I will tell you, running a campaign, not to scare you all off because I want you to run, is like launching a startup with no venture capital and running it into IPO or bankruptcy in less than a year. Jeez. So that's why we are building what we're building. We want to give tools. We call it Candidate in a Box. Everything you need to launch your campaign rapidly, if you happen to be what I call a lunchbox candidate, which is most of us. So with that, I'm going to close things down here. Thank you again. again for coming out today. Follow us on our website, on our social media, and remember to go home and rise up.
I guess it's like the end of this event. Yeah, sad face. No one's watching. On our platform. Alright. Well, looks like Malcontent left when I wasn't watching. But whatever. Yep, there's the Black Conservative Preacher, there's Behind Enemy Lines, there's Common Sense Conservative, there's Bonsai News. Oh yeah, Part-Time Patriot.
Everybody, everybody, come inside. Yes, please, come on. Nice to meet you. Give us a wave. Come on, everybody. Put the flag to their side so we can have a good photo. Hi, come in. Hi. Come on, guys. Yes, for the one. Come on, we want the cowboy right here, sir.
Doc Holliday!
Come in, everybody, together. There is nothing to fear but fear itself. Courage, peace, love, kindness, and unity. Show love to each other. Please. God bless. Yes, this is community. This is how we do it. Blessings to all. All right. Go home and love each other. That's the message.
My shoulder aches. Yep, Behind Enemy Lines right there, Common Sense Conservative right there. Was Bonsai News, he was a Part-Time Patriot. Oh yeah, there's also CJ. Forgot about him, Bonsai News up there. Just take a bang on my AKA. But white and blue is the flag away.
Peace, kindness, and unity. That's the spirit. Thank you, brother. I told you last time.
And I got my copy, I looked at it, he wrote
Yes.
He wrote on it, so I got there, so what the fuck is this motherfucker, or whatever. So he had like 7 people in there, and I said, you write this shit up because I have all this shit on these.
Okay.
So he wrote it on, I said, I actually take it.
I'll write it for you. Bring your phone and put it down.
I made a big scene, he was like, man, I could hear you from outside.
Get together, okay, bring your
And then a little interview. Sounds like they need something.
To get to her, because someone went on this. So get to her.
Yeah, this was fairly small, not much going on.
Real to Washington vibes.
It's actually to me kind of disappointing because I was expecting there to be a bit more people. It kind of like how it was a year ago with the first lockdown. Okay.
That is historic.
Yeah, exactly.
Like these, like this kind of stuff. So yeah, it's actually hoping for like a couple hundred people. Yeah, I was kind of hoping for a couple hundred people. You know, I mean, I'm not talking about like very, very large crowds like it used to be back when the protests first started. Because I remember, what was it? Back in, I can't remember what it was, but it was definitely, I want to say about April or May of 2020. So literally last year, I remember. But yeah, I remember. Dogs. ADHD, holy cow. But yeah, I remember that. Like during the first lockdown protest, there was like maybe at the most 3,000 people there at the Capitol. it's like, I'll say there's like maybe 100 people here, maybe less than 100 at the Second Amendment rally. I was really,
You too.
I was actually really hoping for a larger crowd at the Second Amendment rally because, I mean, it's even a Saturday, so I was, at noontime, so I would think, people off work would actually be here, but they weren't. So, I mean, but you can only control so much. I mean, you can't force people to be out here. Obviously, you definitely cannot force hundreds or even thousands of people to be out here. Because I like being around larger crowds for some reason, but probably because it's just a lot more people to interact with. Usually in smaller crowds, people come like twosies and threesies. But yeah, who knows though? Bitch. But yeah, just kind of hoping for larger crowds. Where's the flag out? Like, the flag out?
Yeah, man. What are you doing after this? We good. I think that's what we're going to do. I saw the PCP. If you want to grab some food, I gotta get back. But yeah, I appreciate it. She said, you almost caught a hot one on that one. Put your hands off me. Don't get your hands off me. Where are you looking? You think give me that car? I'm parked on the other side.
Phil is like a prime time's leaving. No, he's still here. CSC still here. Alright, well, this is the end of this rally. I'm gonna sign off. Alright, well, I'll see everyone next time. Everyone have a nice day.
I gotta get some things charged up.
I helped with up there for the 2A.
Gotcha.